I don't care where my bones lie when I go, or what the words might say on stone. But if you ask me if I would like to be the last to die, no, 'cause then I'm the first to be alone.
Well, track number 8 off my new album, Some Days I'm a Lion, is called Devil Came Knocking, and it's one of the more narrative pieces on the CD. It's kind of like That Moon, where it's a story from top to bottom. And so there's not a lot of mystery within the lyric. It tells a story, a linear story. But the reason I wrote it is a bit more intriguing, I think, than the story itself. I call this song the mixture of Devil Went Down to Georgia and Dexter, the Showtime series. And I suppose the reason I wrote it was because I was reading a lot of C.S. Lewis at the time. And he's a Christian writer, somewhat ambiguously. He just deals a lot with the battle of good and evil. And so I got to thinking, and I asked myself this question. It's a theory I had, but I'm not sure I believe it to the fullest, but it was an interesting question to myself, and it has to do with the relativity of evil. And it kind of basically asks the question, billions of years ago, or if time even existed, the original battle of good and evil, when Satan was cast out for essentially disagreeing with God, I got to thinking that maybe this Satan character, in comparison to today, really wasn't that bad of a guy. Maybe he was a pot stirrer. Maybe he had a chip on his shoulder. But the fact that mankind has gotten so evil, and this world is such a dark place, and how PG-13 movies today, 100 years ago, would have been NC-17, outlawed in 49 states. But now we're so calloused and we're so used to it that we don't really think twice about it. And so, again, the theory says that maybe Satan back in the day was kind of a PG-13 dude. He really wasn't that bad. And if we met him today, he might not be that scary of an individual. In fact, mankind might have surpassed Satan along the way on the scale of evil. And so I have this character coming to my door trying to sell me his side of eternity, and I keep saying, no, not interested, not interested. And he keeps coming back, and I'm not interested. And eventually he starts to snarl, and his horns rise, and he comes back with an army and tries to strong-arm me and do a deal, and I'm unimpressed. Because in a world as dark as this, I'm unimpressed with a lone devil in a briefcase. It's not dark enough for me. And so ultimately, I'll let you listen to the song to figure out the twist, but the devil ultimately keeps coming back to my door only to find that he's not as tough as he thinks, and he's not as dark as he thinks he is. He's not as powerful as he thinks he is. And so that's the theory, that ultimately mankind might have surpassed the level of evil that Satan ever possessed. And take that for what it is. It's just what sparked the song. So my favorite lyric to this song, they might not be my favorite part of the song, but something interesting to note about the lyrics is that the last line of each of the verses, it says, "The first to die is the first one going home." And then on the next verse it says, "The last to die is the first to be alone." Those lines were written years and years and years ago, and they actually sat in my writing book. I didn't have a purpose for them. I didn't have a home for them. And so when I started collecting my nouns and collecting my thoughts for The Devil Came Knocking, I read back through my book and I found those lines. The first to die is the first one going home, and the last to die is the first to be alone. I read those lines, and for whatever reason, they jumped out to me as belonging in this song. So I'd have to say, lyrically speaking, maybe they're not my favorite lines within the totality of the song, but that's an interesting. To me, I was glad to see those lines finally find a home. The standout studio moment for Devil Came Knocking is probably the fact that, in all honesty, this song was a little rushed. Not the lyrics. I'm glad it's a storytelling song because the lyrics are true, tried and true. I'm happy with them top to bottom. But if I'm telling the truth, this song was a little rushed, so much to the point where we were tracking background bells literally with 15 minutes to go before the mastering session. And so I tend to work under the gun a little bit. And so we have a good laugh about this one because a lot of records are done 6 months before the release date. This particular song was the last one being finished, and we were literally tracking just minutes before the mastering session began. And we tend to have a good laugh about that.
But if you ask me if I would like to be the last to die, no, 'cause then I'm the first to be alone. Oh, that devil came knocking at my door today and tried to sell me something kind, but I'd heard it all before, didn't wanna hurt no more, and so I didn't pay him no mind. But he's persistent as that beating of that heart in your chest, and he don't stop till you sign that dotted line. So